Good afternoon. Oh, thank you. You do my heart good. Thank you for joining us for this, our 11th annual Harvard affiliated residency showcase. My name is Dr. Joan Reed. I'm Dean for Diversity and Community Partnership at Harvard Medical School and a professor of medicine, and want to welcome you to today's program. The goal of this event is to provide medical students, particularly medical students from groups underrepresented in medicine, but for medical students, an opportunity to meet and network with Harvard-affiliated residency training program directors, attending physicians, fellows, and residents. It's our hope that all of you participating students will learn more about the residency programs that are offered here within our Harvard-affiliated hospital systems through this interactive and informal setting. As we get started, I want to thank the co-sponsors of this event and those individuals from across our Harvard-affiliated hospitals and residency programs who volunteered their time to be with us today. So special thanks to Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Y'all can raise your hand or shout out, you can. But I love it. We're not competitive at all. Boston Children's Hospital, Office for Equity, Health, Equity, and Inclusion. Whoop, whoop, that's it? Whoop, whoop. All right. Brigham and Women's Hospital, Center for Diversity and Inclusion. Brigham? Whoop, whoop, and yay. All right. Harvard, we're on a roll. Cambridge Health Alliance, Department of Internal Medicine. Hello, Malu. Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary. Massachusetts General Hospital, the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. McLean Hospital, Office for the Chief Academic Officer. Mount Auburn Hospital, Department of Internal Medicine. And Spalding Rehabilitation Center. I gotta tell you, before we do our program next year, we're going to have all the representatives from the hospitals come together and practice. Over 400 students registered to participate in today's program, 170 to join us in person, and more than 200 joining us virtually for the panel portion of the program. You represent more than 150 medical schools from across the country, and you're joined by more than 100 faculty, physicians, residents, and staff from our Harvard-affiliated hospitals. They're all looking forward to robust conversations about your interests and how they may align with the opportunities available in a Harvard system. For those attending virtually, the panel portion of today's program is being live streamed and recorded and will be posted on the DICP, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership website for future reference. Most important to know is that this day is about you. Take time to get to know us, ask us hard questions. We're ready for them with enthusiasm. Look at, he's up, he goes, whoop. You can teach us how to do big whoops, okay? No one is here to evaluate you or take notes about your potential or your candidacy for residency programs. This is really a time for you to get to know us, for us to get to know you, and to you to ask questions. This is your time. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Alden Landry, who's going to be the moderator for today's showcase. Dr. Landry is the Assistant Dean for the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership, DICP, an emergency medicine physician at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and an Associate Professor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Landry.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reed, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited for the day. I look forward to this event. We do this annually, and even during our times where we are virtual during the COVID pandemic, we still continue this very important program. And so I'm glad to see so many faces here ready to talk about residency programs, think about your future, And as Dr. Reed mentioned, our goal is to make this as laid back and comfortable as possible. So even though we're wearing fancy clothes and I have a tie on, and as an ED doc, I can tell you, I wear this maybe twice a year. We're still going to make sure that this is a down to earth experience. So you can get to see us and get to hear about our programs and learn from our trainees and our program directors and the many other individuals that are here. So thank you all for being here. Very quickly, I want to give a special thank you to Lynn Fulton John, who's in the back of the room. This program and the visiting clerkship program would not move nearly as smoothly if we didn't have you. So thank you for everything that you do for us. And I want to say thank you to the rest of the DICP staff that is here joining us as well. Thank you for volunteering your time on a Saturday to be here to support this program. Now that that's out the way, we're going to get started in our programming, and we're going to try and stick fairly to schedule. We are going to have a pretty action-packed first part of this program where you all are going to hear from hospital representatives, and then you're going to hear from from current residents within our system. And then lastly, you're going to hear from our program directors. As Dr. Reed mentioned, the program is going to be live streamed. However, for those of you that are in audience and have questions, you can raise your hand and we will carefully navigate the steep stairs. My goal today is not to fall, and hopefully that is everyone else's low-hanging fruit goal, is not to trip over these stairs. So we will be moving around with some microphones here to make sure that we can get your questions answered. After the panels that we have, we're going to have some time for some mix and mingle. As you can see, the hospitals are out with their tables up top, and they have some swag for you. So be sure to take the swag, be appropriate and not hoard all the swag. I had to stop a resident, he's in the room, I think, from taking all your umbrellas. But no, please take advantage of the giveaways that they have for you. And then after that, we're going to really sort of try and space this out and go into the breakout rooms where you can have more one-on-one discussions about very specific matters to the residency programs that you're applying to. I think one of the things that you're going to appreciate is the fact that we have so many residency programs that are participating, and they're coming from our different hospitals. And although you may think that we're in competition, for you as an applicant, we're here to support you at this time and make sure that you find the home that is best for you. Because it may be that you go to one hospital for residency. Let's say you go to MGH for residency, and then you decide to do your fellowship at Brigham and Women's Hospital, but you end up as faculty at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. That's a win for all of us. And so we're going to be working together to find you a home at every stage along in your career. So I've gotten way off topic on my notes for the day. So I will go ahead and start turning this over to our hospital representatives. And so I'm going to invite each of them up one by one to just do a quick welcome. And I'm going to start with Dr. Valerie Ward, representing Boston Children's Hospital. Dr. Ward.
I'm really delighted to welcome everyone and to be the first hospital here on the list to speak. You're going to hear some themes throughout all of the welcome and introductions today. And I think the theme that you're probably going to hear is inclusive excellence. You belong here. We're delighted you're here. You're here because you are excellent, and you're included because you're going to bring expertise, excitement, enthusiasm, and everything else to the work. And that's why we need you here at our hospitals. Again, as Dr. Landry said, it doesn't matter which Harvard hospital you choose, we will be delighted. That's a success. I'm representing Boston Children's Hospital. I'm a pediatric radiologist. I'm also a senior vice president and the hospital's chief equity and inclusion officer. And what's unique about our hospital, the way that we are approaching pediatric health and improving health outcomes for all children, is we do it at every single level of someone's career development. So whether you are a medical student, a resident, fellow, early career, mid-career, or senior faculty member, there's a role for each and every one of us to contribute to improving health outcomes. As you may know, health equity research, the data that shows the inequities that will allow us then to put in place interventions to improve care, health equity research is so important. And at our hospital, we prioritize getting the data in order to really have equity as a science. I borrowed that term equity science from a colleague and friend, Dr. Joseph Wright at the American Academy of Pediatrics. I want to give him credit for that. He's their Chief Health Equity Officer. But we really want to look at the data in children, adolescents, and young adults, and we want your help. So if you have great ideas about how to do research projects that will improve health outcomes, come to us for small grants, come to us for large grants, come to us for mentorship and collaboration on your ideas. And if you don't have any ideas, come to us. We have a lot. We'd love someone to help us really execute and put our ideas into practice and get some health outcomes that are improved. I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to tell you, we have a couple of special things at our hospital. We have an Office of Health Equity and Inclusion. I direct the office, but I have a large staff, and we have real dedication from our hospital senior leadership to make the work that comes out of that office successful. We also have an institute called the Sandra L. Fenwick Institute for Pediatric Health Equity and Inclusion, named after our most recent retired CEO, Sandy Fenwick. And at our hospital, our board of trustees, our president and CEO, Dr. Kevin Churchwell, all of our senior executive leaders really want you to come and join us in our work, whether it's in the office, in the institute, in the department or division that you join. Reach out to us because we're here to make your learning and working environment inclusive. Again, inclusive excellence in how we all deliver pediatric care. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ward, for that. Next up is Dr. Wendy Macias Constantinovas from MGH.
Thank you, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you today, and thank you for taking the time out of a beautiful Saturday afternoon to be here. Those of you who are here in person, and to those from across over on the other side of the country, thank you for joining us at such an early hour. So my name is Wendy Macias Constantopoulos. I'm a practicing emergency physician at Mass General Hospital, and I also am honored and privileged to represent the hospital as the Vice President and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Like all of you, I was in your seats about a minute ago, but I was in your seats looking at residency programs and just thinking, I hope I find a good place where I can somewhat enjoy my experience, become a really good doctor, and move on with my career. But what I implore you today is to really research and investigate the programs that are available to you here in the Boston area, and to understand that it's not just about surviving residency, it's about surviving, yes, but also thriving. You want a place that will become your academic home if that is where your career trajectory is headed. You want a place where you can feel that you have the resources available to you at your fingertips to really grow your roots and spread your wings. At Mass General Hospital, we make it a point to ensure that we are putting in place all the resources, all the benefits and programs available to us to put that forth at your fingertips to you through the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, some of whom are here in the crowd. I see our program manager, Sandra Ordonez Peña, Elena Olson, who is our fearless leader, executive director of CDI, and others that will be joining us today. Jocelyn Carter is Associate Director of Trainee Affairs, and you'll meet many of our program directors as well throughout the day. Please ask them questions. They are here for you. Literally, these are individuals that are completely 150% dedicated to making sure that our underrepresented trainees, medical students, and faculty have the resources available to grow in our institution and to grow roots. And what I will say is that there are programs available to you there, such as the Summer Research Trainee Program. If you are a first or second year medical student and you happen to be at a medical school that doesn't have a very strong research program, or even if it does, you can apply for this program, come to Mass General for the summer, spend some time with some of our expert researchers. We have one of the largest funded research enterprise in the country, NIH funded experts that will work with you, that will mentor you, that will help you grow your skills as a researcher if that is something that interests you. We also have the research consulting service as a trainee and as a junior faculty. If you have any questions about research, whether it be logistical questions about how to write a grant or what methodology to use, all the way to career development. You can access those resources are there for you. And of course, we have grant programming as well. So as Dr. Ward mentioned, we have small grants, we have big grants. We have grants that are specifically for underrepresented clinician teacher development and physician scientist development awards. What I want to leave you with, because I only was given 4 minutes, but what I want to leave you with is that I have been at Mass General for 20 years now, 20 plus years now. And I am still here because it is an institution that really helps to grow you, cares about your future. CDI has done an incredible job of shrinking what is a very large institution into a smaller community of folks that really feels like home and that really is dedicated to helping you grow. And my roots are strong. We have a saying at Mass General from our physician founders that when in distress, every man is our neighbor. We are committed to health equity, committed to research, committed to ensuring that we have the programs in place to be able to provide equitable care to the communities that we serve. And this is a place where you can also bring in your ideas. You can also bring in your lens from your background and help us to become better. So we count on you to help us grow and to be the best institution, academic medical center that we can be for our patients and our staff. And finally, I think the most important thing is to remember that it's not just about survival, it's about thriving. It's about growing your roots. It's about launching your career so that 20 years later, you can stand in front of a room and say with confidence that this is the place, this is your home, this is where you grew your roots, where you found yourself as a researcher, as a scientist, as a physician, and where you continue to grow and where you belong. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Next up is going to be Dr. Morana Lasik from Brigham and Women's Hospital.
So I join everybody in just extending the warmest of welcome to all our medical students. We're truly honored and privileged to be with you today. And warmest welcome and gratitude to our faculty and trainees as well, who have chosen to spend some of this beautiful Saturday day with you to share their thoughts, opinions, and experiences from many of our departments, as well as hospitals that are affiliated with Harvard Medical School. I have been at Brigham also for a minute, just like Wendy, since 1999, actually, when I finished my training in medical school at Dartmouth and came here for training and stayed ever since. Over the course of these years, I have accumulated and sorted a number of different hats. Currently, I wear a few of them. I at the hospital and department level. I'm the interim chief diversity and inclusion officer at Brigham. I'm a vice chair of DIB in my department of anesthesiology. I also run a peer support program, which I'm very proud of. It's a program that provides confidential conversations to our clinicians at times of distress, like adverse outcomes, medical errors. And this is just to show you how much we deeply care about well-being of all of our trainees and faculty. And I'm also an associate program director. I have been for years, so I'm especially excited about this recruitment season along with you. I know you're apprehensive and excited, but I hope that we can turn on the excitement part for you today. I'll be joining those of you interested in anesthesiology and specialty-specific conversations later today. And while you will meet so many of us who come from different departments, different hospitals, we unite in many things, including our strong and unwavering commitment to recruit as diverse of residency training classes as we possibly can. And this is because we know that our racial and ethnic minority patients do better. They have better conversations, they report better outcomes, better medical treatment when they're treated by physicians who are racial and ethnically and linguistically concordant. Some of the more recent studies show that our LGBTQI plus patient population actually experiences the same. So it's important for our patients to see themselves in their healthcare providers, especially important for those who historically come from marginalized communities. So we think that diversity in healthcare workforce is a mean of addressing healthcare inequities. We have a lot to offer in this institution, and I hope you get a sense of that today. We're so enthusiastic to share that with you. Of course, the top world-class clinical training, which is something that you're really excited about. This is the beginning of your training program. But we also have resources, as many of my colleagues have mentioned, in so many areas that you might want to grow in health equity, in research, in community service and leadership, medical education, to just name a few. But because I know not everybody's from Boston, actually, so many of you have joined us today, not in the area, and you're wondering about a city as well, I'm just going to share a few fun facts about Boston with you. Revere Beach was the country's first public beach, if you didn't know. The oldest public park in the United States is Boston Common. If you're here and you haven't visited, please go see the ducklings. Boston built the first America's subway. The deepest tunnel in America, 90 feet underground, is Boston's Williams Tunnel. The first chocolate factory was here. That's really important. I don't know if anybody eats the Fig Newtons anymore. Does anybody eat Fig Newtons? Yeah, okay. The Fig Newton was named after a Boston suburb, actually. The first American lighthouse was built in Boston. Fenway Park, which you have to see if you're here, is the oldest original Major League Baseball stadium still in use. But just so you know, the Red Sox were not always called the Red Sox. So Boston has a lot to offer culturally and in every other way, and I think you will find it really fun. It was called the Boston Americans. I know somebody would ask, so I wrote that down. Yeah. So one more time, welcome. Really, as Dr. Reed said, ask us hard questions. We're here to answer those, and we sincerely hope that after you spend some time with us today, you will be super enthusiastic to consider and apply and come to our training programs. Thank you so much.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that about the Fig Newton either, but now it makes sense. Next is Dr. Danielle Ovechki, representing Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Every time I come in this amphitheater, I just get chills because I remember my time in medical school. So it's very interesting, and I'm standing up here to tell you why I love being here so much, because when I was in your shoes as a medical student, I had the opportunity to come here, but I was too scared to come to Harvard. I thought it was too white and I wasn't going to fit in. So I didn't come. And I went to Hopkins instead, which was a great experience. But now here I am, the biggest Boston fan. So I have to go on with Marana's talk and just tell you a few things about Boston, why I love it here so much. So number one, Boston is a majority minority city. Anybody who knows me knows I just went to the DIMOC 5K, which was just an incredible experience where you see hundreds of people of color that train every Saturday, train to run this race. And the amount of investment that goes into that, that is one way where we can truly improve the outcomes of our patients who come from disinvested neighborhoods. All of the people we run with every Saturday in the summer come from those neighborhoods. So every time I go there, I'm just so thrilled at this city that doesn't lie about its past. It faces its past head on and is committed to changing the future and making sure that future is equitable. So I could go on and on about Boston. I can answer any question. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, a blazing hot place. So why do I love Boston so much? I can tell you what to do in the winter, what to wear, but just don't be afraid to come to Boston. That's my number one thing. And there's so many hospitals. The second thing I always say whenever I have to talk to young people considering a career in medicine, I'm the first doctor in my family. When I was in college, I had to work to make money to support my family, actually, when I was going to college. And yet, I would happily say I would do it all over again, repeat medical school and residency all over again in a heartbeat to get to do what I do every day. I'm very clinically active. I'm a geriatrician. I see patients, preferably in the ED at 2 o'clock in the morning with Alden. And just being able to have that career and help a patient in distress, there's nothing like it. So I have 3 kids, and I tell them every day, almost every day, that they have free range in whatever type of doctor they want to be. as long as it is a doctor. I make it really clear. We can do pathology, dermatology, interventional radiology, I list them all. And they can just pick. So I'm like working on it every day. Like I have models of hearts in where I work so they can see the heart, see the valves. I like try to sprinkle it on them because honestly, that is, the career you're facing. So I come to you with this joy that I want you to come and experience the experience that I've had. I'm representing Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, somewhere I've been for a long time, a place I choose to be every day. You may say, why? Why? Because in my life every day, there are two things I think of when I wake up every single morning. What Virchow said, we as physicians are natural advocates for the poor. And secondly, what Peabody said, the secret to patient care is caring for the patient. And that, in essence, is Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center's mantra, that you don't have to choose. We believe in academic rigor with a roaring heart of equity. Greater than 50% of the patients that we see in our ED are patients of color. When I saw the data, I couldn't believe it. I look at this data all the time. And then the majority of our patients have non-commercial insurance. We are committed to being there to serve our underserved patients. We're part of a 13-hospital system, and our reason for being, the reason we were allowed to be formed, is we are bringing excellent academic medical care to our patients where they live, work, and play. We have over $250 million worth of research, and we are very much invested in doing cutting edge research that is really going to help our underserved patients. So we are very committed to making sure that we develop and support the next generation of physician leaders. Today, you're going to meet many representatives from my hospital. I have a whole list of them. I see Pablo, Sarah Nees, I don't know who else is here. Maybe anybody else from BI, raise your hand so I can show that you're here. I see Pablo and then Sarah Nees. We'll see everybody else coming for the panel as well. And they can't wait to tell you more about BIDMC. So I just want to end by thanking you. Thanking you so much, for considering and going along the path to become a physician, because we really need you. We need every single diverse voice to help us with the issues we're facing in medicine now. And I want to thank you that you even think about coming to Boston, a city that I love, that I'm honored to serve the people here. And I invite you to come join me to serve the people of this great city. Thank you so much.
Danielle, I'm not sure what you're talking about. It's this weather year-round all the time here in Boston. Next up is Dr. Malu Jean-Baptiste from Cambridge Health Alliance.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And we are delighted to be here. And I'm going to start. I prepared a talk, but I'm going to just free talking. Everybody I've been telling about themselves, and I want to share a little bit about me. So I'm from Haiti, and as you can tell, I have an accent. And I grew up in Haiti, and I decided after my training in Haiti that I would come to the US to get more experience. And then I would go back to practice there, but things didn't happen that way. So when I met with the chief of medicine, he looked at me, he said, well, I give you the training, but you stay to work with the community. And that seed was planted 30 years ago. And from that day, every single day, that's in me, what I'm going to do to improve the health of the community we're living. So let me tell you a little bit about Cambridge Health Alliance. Cambridge Health Alliance is has two main acute care hospitals, and we have multiple community hospitals, and we are also taking care of vulnerable patients, and we strive for equity. And a lot of our patients are young immigrants, people who don't speak English. So a lot of them are illiterate. So you really need to go where the patient is and to meet them where they are. And the traditional thing like computer, they don't do that. So what they do to get their news, they go to the neighbor. So then the neighbor tell them, this black pill will work for you. Why don't you take it? Stop taking your doctor medicine. So when I hear it from the patient, I get frustrated. So, but frustration doesn't mean anywhere. So I said to myself, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Let me start doing a Haitian radio. Since the things are done in the radio, so the only thing I can do is to come and give the patient the information. I will tell them in their level what's going on in their body. So we've been doing that for 13 years. At Cambridge Hospital, we also work with the community, and as a trainee, people have opportunity to do different things. They can do advocacy. They can also work in community with the community partners. And like I work with UDH Health Coach, and we also do training. We offer training for people who want for language and culture. And we also, and then we have the training program. So we have 3 training programs. We have and fellowship. The 3 training program, one is from internal medicine and psychiatry. Both of them are affiliated with Harvard. And the third one is the program of family medicine. So I think the resident seems to be very happy because they can both do the science part of medicine, but also have an opportunity to really understand the patient and come with innovative way where we can reach a patient who do not know how to read or to write. So the other part, I'm very proud to say that we also have been working globally. So CHA has been offering like shadowing experience. So we have so far 2 countries who has been doing shadowing. One of them is Brazil and the second one is Haiti. So, and we also have online classes for multiple discipline for Haitian students. So we do it on Sundays. So we meet with the student 3 times a week, and the idea so they can enrich their program. So when our patient go there, we can have a relationship with them, so the patient do not get fragmented care. So that's all I had to say for today. And I have some of my colleagues here, and thank you for your attention. And I don't know if I forget anything, but we'll tell you later.
Thank you, Malu. And last but not least is Dr. Joe Amlor, representing Mount Auburn Hospital.
Thank you. This is so cool. This is my first time here. I had no idea what to expect. This is just awesome. It's been a pleasure to meet some of you guys so far, and I can't wait to as the day goes on. My name is Joe Amler. I am a hospitalist, internal medicine doctor, and I'm the internal medicine residency program director at Mount Auburn Hospital. You might wonder why I'm here. Why am I at this program for underrepresented people in medicine? Why am I on this panel following this excellent group of people? I'm overrepresented in medicine. The culture of medicine is based around people like me. I grew up in the suburbs in Michigan. I attended excellent schools. I came from a financially stable family. I'm a 6 foot tall white guy. It fits into the stereotype of who doctors are. And as a result, when I walk into a patient's room, patients put their phones down. They stop talking to their family. They greet me as their doctor. And I'm here because the way I am treated is not the way I see other people in medicine treated. I want to help change that. I'm here because I know that doctors should come from different backgrounds. They should have different accents, and they should look different because our patients do too. I'm here to ensure that you feel comfortable applying to all of these programs, but you also feel comfortable applying to our program. So I hope that I can talk a little bit about our hospital and show that we value who you are in this way. Mount Auburn is one of the other community hospitals. We're like CHA, kind of. We're on the west side of Cambridge, though, just outside of Harvard Square. We have an ICU, we have a step-down unit, we have a cardiac cath lab, we have a newly renovated ER, we're a stroke center. We do a lot of really cool stuff in a small place. And what that does is we have a small, comfortable, personalized type training model where we all get to know each other really well. And we serve as a home base within this Cambridge, Boston area where you can have your own comfortable training. And then if you need some subspecialty things, we can branch out to all these other awesome hospitals. You have your time within HMS, you can practice with students, you can teach. It's really cool. And despite being a smaller place, Mount Auburn does support a lot of DEI initiatives. We have a DEI council that leads initiatives for staff and for patients. We have monthly celebrations to recognize and honor cultures and traditions. We have training opportunities and orientations for everybody coming through. And we ensure that our policies are focused on reducing disparities. We fly the LGBTQIA+ flag. We encourage the use of DILH Pride lanyards. We developed a disparities committee that monitors and looks at patient outcomes to reduce care disparities amongst our patients. These are all things we've done over the last couple of years. We're super excited to keep it moving with the hospital leadership that we have in place. Within our residency, we support research in this. We're not just looking for huge publications. We want to be able to publish and do research that matters. We're proud of our residents like Dr. Savis, who this year won the HMS Equity, Social Justice, and Advocacy Award, now working at MGB because of the DEI curriculum she put into our program. And our residency program, as a result, is incredibly diverse. We have residents coming from all walks of life. We have residents from rural China. We have residents from down the street in Cambridge. We select residents based on who they are, what they can bring to our program. We think a lot about achievements, contributions, and the potential they can bring. We actually blind a lot of the application. So we don't know where you're coming from. We don't know as much about the scores as you may think. We have 2 residency programs. We have an internal medicine residency. We've been here for 50 years. We have a 50-person residency. So it's 14 categoricals and 8 prelims. We also have a radiology residency led by Dr. Connolly, who you'll get a chance to meet later. They take 3 people every year, and they've been around for almost 80 years. So I want to welcome all of you. I can't believe I had this opportunity. I'm super thankful for it. But I hope that you have a chance to come meet us, come shake our hands, chat with us, hear more about our hospital and our program, and take time to meet everybody. Like everybody's been saying, this is really low-key, calm chance to just come say hello and get to know about us. So welcome, and again, thanks for the time.
I want to say thank you to all the hospital representatives for your wonderful welcomes. I kind of feel like I need to go and do tours of the hospitals and, I don't know, hang out with y'all a little bit more, because it was really great hearing the stories and seeing how proudful you are of your institutions. And I think it's just a testament to how much we appreciate our home institutions, and our home institutions appreciate us. So we're going to split now to our residency panel. And so I'm going to introduce our moderator for the next session, and then I want the residents who are going to be participating to come on down, so you know who you are, so you can start working your way down. But Dr. Jeff Edwards is going to be moderating this panel. He's the chief resident in pediatrics at Boston Children's Combined Residency Program at Boston Children's Hospital, as well as Boston Medical Center. I want to say thank you, Jeff, for moderating this session.
I'll let everyone get settled, but thanks again for all of your attention and engagement so far. And what wonderful way to introduce all the applicants and students to the incredible hospitals that we all have the privilege of working at. Great. And so I think given the
Hi, everyone. Welcome, truly welcome. I literally remember seeing over there like a couple years ago, so it really warms my heart to be here. My name is Candice Childs. I'm a second year at the MGH McLean Psychiatry Residency Program. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, so it's definitely not as hot and humid, and I'm very thankful for that.
Hey everybody, I'm Jordan. I'm a second year EM resident at BIDMC. Just for the record, Dr. Landry, I only wanted to take one umbrella, not all the umbrellas. I use he, him, his. I got one. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm from South Florida originally, Boynton Beach specifically.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here and meet all of you. My name is Boateng. One of the surgical residents at MGH, so I've finished 3 years of residency so far. I was born in Ghana. I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is sort of right outside of Washington, D.C. I use he, him, his pronouns, and anything else we're saying? That's good enough.
Think you're all set.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos. I am a third year radiology resident at Mount Auburn Hospital. I also did my intern year in medicine, so I can speak a little bit to that experience as well. I use the he, him, his pronouns. And I'm originally from Peru, but my home is actually also in South Florida, Coconut Creek. So excited to be here.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am Cody Sane. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a third year resident at Brigham and Women's Hospital in the Department of Anesthesia. I am originally from rural West Tennessee, did medical school in Chicago before coming here. And I also serve as the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging House Staff Council Chair at Brigham and Women's Hospital as well. So thank you for everybody for being here and looking forward to chatting with you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lillian Zerihun. I'm a fourth year internal medicine pediatrics resident at Brigham and Boston Children's BMC program. I'm from North Carolina originally, and I did medical school in New York City. So yeah, happy to be here and talk to you guys.
Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and jump into the questions. And just in the interest of time, we'll have two people who I'll call out to answer the questions, but if anyone really wants to weigh in on any of these, feel free to jump in. And so to start us off, we'll talk a little bit more about the application process before then talking about our experiences in our residency programs and here in Boston. And so for Candice and Boateng, how did you select which programs you applied to when you were applying?
Yeah, so I'll start us off. So to be very honest, you know, I literally remember being in your shoes, and I was thinking about a residency program. I was thinking about a lot of different things. I want to go somewhere where I could be myself. I wanted to go somewhere where I could be challenged, but I also wanted to go somewhere where they could support all of the huge dreams and aspirations that I have outside of medicine as well, because I want to, I'm already a writer and I want to write children's books since I'm you know, aspiring child and adolescent psychiatrist. And so for me, it was pretty, you know, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I really want to go somewhere where I could have all of these things. And initially I thought about just staying in Georgia because it's home, it's where my family is. But then I was encouraged by mentors, my family, and other people to spread my wings. But it wasn't until I did the visiting clerkship program where I realized that I could be here one day. And so for me, thinking about all these different programs, you know, it really helped me to just kind of understand that there are so many options out there. They're looking for great people like yourself, but then you also have to think about what you want as well. And so as I was doing my research, I just realized that, you know, these, you know, Harvard med school programs, I really feel like they resonated with me in many different ways. And it was coming to this showcase literally 2 years ago that made me realize that I really could apply here one day. And so, you know, I would definitely say, like, please utilize this time at this showcase to ask all of the questions, because it really was this showcase that really allowed me to think about the residency programs, to go outside of my comfort zone, to spread my wings, to apply different places. And I'm just so humbled and grateful that I applied here.
Jeff, I think your question was, how do we pick where to apply?
Yes.
So I think for me, I did my medical school in Baltimore. When I was going into residency and knowing I was going to surgery, the top of my list was really the clinical programs. And so I looked for a place that was busy, a place that sort of had a legacy of producing people who could be successful in academic surgery. And that's sort of how I began making my list of places to apply. And there are a lot of phenomenal programs in Boston, as you guys will get to meet today. Like you might also know, there are many good programs in other places. And so other factors then have to weigh in. For me, I knew I wanted to be more on the East Coast with my family being in Maryland. That was important to me. And one thing that actually made a little bit of an impact for me is at least at MGH, I'm not sure if the other programs also have this, for low-income students, they provide like a $10,000 stipend for your first 3 years, which is a huge deal for me and like for my family. And when I was trying to figure out the finances of being a resident in a city as expensive as Boston, this also helped me make some of that decision. And I think finally, for me, it was in meeting the residents in these programs. I applied during COVID, so we couldn't physically visit, so everything was virtual. And when I met the residents, they were happy. They, were working a lot, but we're also having a lot of fun. And that's something that I felt that I wanted to be a part of. And so that's how I decided where to apply and ultimately how to rank the programs.
Wonderful, thank you. So next for Lillian Jordan, the question is to tell us about your interview experience, impart any words of wisdom you may have from your side.
So my class was the first class that had virtual interviews. And so I think one of the challenges that I was facing during the interview process was trying to learn about the programs in a virtual format when we can't actually physically visit the programs in person. And so I think that my interview experience for med-peds in particular, I think the big things that I was looking for with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion was looking at kind of the resident face sheet and making sure that I was actually seeing a diverse group of residents represented and looking at the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the institutions I was applying for and making sure that those programs really were putting the money where their mouth was in supporting UIM residents. And so I think the interview process, the virtual interview process, I think it was beneficial in that you don't have to take out a lot of money to fly and physically go to places, but I think the big drawback was figuring out kind of what the programs had to offer. And so I think it required a lot of talking to residents on kind of a one-on-one level and seeking out those like one-on-one experiences to really like gauge, is this program somewhere that will be supportive? And so I think that's something that is really important, as you guys are thinking about where to apply, to physically talk to people who are residents in the program and leadership in the program to make sure that you would feel comfortable in that environment.
Yeah, I completely agree. The switch to virtual interviews certainly made the impetus a little bit more on you guys and on us in terms of kind of like finding out, is this place where we want to be? You may not get the opportunity to go. I couldn't afford to travel for a lot of kind of second look opportunities. The interview here, well, I had done the VCP here, so I had the opportunity, fortunately, to rotate at Mass General Brigham and then kind of get a view of the VI program. Some programs just feel different and feel like they're the right place. With this program in particular, there was a faculty member who was assigned to interview all people who self-identify as underrepresented in medicine. And that was just, you could tell that they had completely read your application. They had a lot of kind of insight into who you were and really wanted to hear who you were. And they are involved in all of kind of the rank meeting conversations as well with program leadership. So really just kind of go into the program, into the interviews, do your research, ask the hard-hitting questions. If they can't answer them, that may be a red flag. If they can, then kind of take that for what it is. And in my experience, you kind of know when you've hit the right place.
Great. And then you had actually mentioned the VCP. And so I wanted to give, I think you and Candace, you both participated in this, maybe a few moments to chat about your experience in the VCP and maybe give a short plug for anyone who's considering it.
I would 100% recommend doing the VCP if that's something that's kind of in your view. But for those of you who don't know a lot about it, it's a program kind of coincides with like away rotations, which are very normal in emergency medicine. I know they're not maybe the standard for a lot of other specialties, but gives you an opportunity to kind of be paired with faculty in the Harvard system, attend some kind of networking events with a lot of the people on the panel here today and Dr. Landry. They give you a stipend to help you to afford traveling to and stay in Boston for a month in the summer. And my personal experience was, like I said, I did my rotation at Mass General Brigham, which is a great program, but being here and being part of the VCP let me meet people from other hospitals and gave me the opportunity to spend some time in the other emergency departments that kind of in the other hospitals that have emergency medicine residencies here, which is how I kind of found BI and started to network with people there. So yeah, 100% would recommend.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I 100% would recommend it because, you know, I grew up in Georgia my whole life. I'd never been anywhere else, lived anywhere else. And so this allowed me the opportunity to see a new place. But then what I remember being so special about the visiting clerkship program is at the time, you know, because I'm thinking about when I was in your shoes, I just really want to get a sense of, could I actually come here? Could I thrive here? And I remember, you know, doing my rotation, I had such a lovely experience. I was at the Lurie Center for Autism, working with child psychiatrists. And I was just so impressed with the humility, the innovation, the leadership, their passion for what they did. And I said, you know, one day, if I'm blessed to be a part of this program, this is what the finished product would look like. And I felt like it really resonated with me to kind of see like one day I could be in their shoes, have that training, have, you know, everything that they just kind of embodied. I felt like that would be what I would want to look like as an attending one day. And it gave me that opportunity to see what that would look like. And so I had networking opportunities. I was just able to just learn so much in the program with the away rotation. And I feel like it was definitely one of the main reasons why I'm even here today, because it gave me that firsthand look of, you know, working with people who were trained in the program that I was interested in at the time. And I'm just so grateful to have had that opportunity.
Wonderful, thank you. And it's definitely such a great opportunity and highly recommend anyone who's underrepresented medicine to apply. It's such a valuable resource. The next question we'll ask to Cody and Carlos will be, how did you go about setting up your rank list and what kind of factors do you think about when you were ultimately, you know, thinking about the top of your rank list especially?
Yeah, so let me think back to this time period. So I think in terms of ranking the different programs that I applied and interviewed at, I was also actually the first class that had to do virtual interviews. So it was challenging kind of getting a sense of what the different programs offered. And, you know, I had to put a little bit more work into kind of envisioning what my life would look like at the different programs. But I think it really came down to location for me. My fiance is in biotech. Boston is an excellent kind of hub for that type of opportunities. But then more importantly, medicine-wise, you know, we have all of these excellent programs. At this point, I've actually had the opportunity to rotate at a few of the different programs as well, Boston Children's Hospital, MGH, and these are all phenomenal kind of teaching institutions. So I think location was my first kind of filter. And then secondly, really it came down to the different conversations that I had stemming off of my interview days. I was really able to get a sense of what the faculty were like, what the residents you know, I did have, I think that's an excellent suggestion, one-on-one conversations with the residents, just to kind of get their honest thoughts about what the training is like, you know, outside of the interview day. And yeah, I would just kind of go with your gut sense of the kind of conversations that you've had. I think as a medical student, it's really easy to kind of only think about these programs as, you know, somewhere far off where you'll go and you'll learn to kind of continue to become a physician. But I would kind of challenge you guys to think forward a little bit more and, you know, really appreciate how a lot of these faculty will become your mentors, and they will kind of go through the years with you and kind of shape you and help you become the physicians that you will eventually, you know, as I'm kind of approaching the latter end of my residency time, I'm really kind of focusing more on that. And I'm really thankful that I was able to get a good sense of what the faculty was like. And yeah, I think that really shaped ultimately how I rank my programs.
What a tough question. I think back about making the decision to where I was going to go to medical school. And the thing that stuck out to me the most about that decision was when I left that interview, that was the happiest experience I had had that entire season. And I felt very honored and blessed to have ended up at the place I ended up for medical school. And I never thought that I was going to be able to replicate that for residency. I feel like residency was sold as this nonstop grind where you had to sort of set aside a lot of what was important to you to get your training. But I didn't want that to be the case. I did not want that to be my story. So when I was going through my residency interviews, I wanted to go to the place where I was going to be happy. I knew I was going to get great clinical training at a lot of the places that I went. I knew the cities all had something different to offer. I knew the hospitals were well resourced across the country. But I knew that if I was not happy, I would not take advantage of any of those opportunities. I would bury my head in the sand and wait for my 4 years to be over. And when I interviewed at the Brigham, my experience was just so much different. I remember the conversations were different. The people genuinely cared about who I was, where I came from, where I wanted to go. And there was never any pressure about coming to this institution and staying forever. They want you to stay. They would love for you to stay, but they won't. They know that this is a stepping stone in whatever direction you want to go in. And everyone that I talked to from the night before to the interview day, and even months after, the programs that stood out to me were the places that the residents and the attendings felt genuinely happy. And those were the people who seemed to be the most productive in their careers because they were happy at the place that they were at. So as Carlos mentioned, I think go with that gut feeling through your interviews. Like your gut 99% of the time is not going to lead you astray. So that's what I did, and I'm very grateful for doing that. And just a side plug, I wanted to say that I think the Northeast is a very scary place to move to, but I will say like most of the panelists today are from somewhere in the Southeast. So I think that's also very important that Boston is a very different place than a lot of us are from, and it has become home very quickly. So that's also an important point I want to make too.
That's great. Next, we'll go to Jordan and Lily to talk a little bit about the culture of your program or hospital.
I have to think. I mean, not for any reason other than I think it's hard to encapsulate. I love my program. The residents, we're all from very different places. We're very kind of like mixed race culturally, mixed geographically, mixed experiences. We have people who are older and had a career before medicine and people who have gone right through. And that fits for every kind of iteration of each class. My program also has a lot of faculty who were residents here from way back when to as recently as last year. And so it's been great to kind of grow up in an environment that's supportive, has kind of proved that with its actions, and that it's retained so many great people who stick around and want to be here for the residents who are currently going through the program. Did that answer the question?
Yes. Lily.
So I think I would like to shout out Cody and Jeff for this portion. So as part of the MedPeds program, I think I am blessed to be able to kind of be part of a diversity community on both the medicine side at Brigham and the pediatric side at Boston Children's and BMC. And so I think you guys have been like amazing leaders. And I think the biggest thing that I feel like I've seen out of my programs is just the support and the community building aspect for UIM residents has been incredible. So from the Brigham side, 2 days ago, we had an event where they, funded food for us, and we got to meet people from like all over the different programs, like orthopedic surgery, anesthesiology, internal medicine, and that community from across the various programs at Brigham was like an amazing chance to meet other UIM residents. And then on the pediatric side, just the support that they give, the community building activities, the fact that they funded all of the residents to go to the AMEC conference this past year. So there were like 15 Black residents who were able to go and had full funding for the conference. I think our programs really, what I said before, put their money where their mouth is in terms of providing support for UIM residents and making us feel like there is a sense of community in our program. And so I think as a MedPeds resident, it's been amazing to kind of see that from across multiple sides, from the Brigham to the Children's and BMC sides of things. So yeah, I think I felt really happy. And I think the fact of having a sense of that community building is one of the most important things that I felt as a resident so far.
Incredible. And also shout out to Lily for being the community arm leader for our diversity council on the pediatric side. So she definitely plays a large role in that. The next question we'll send to Carlos and Boateng. What would you have done differently about the process if you could go back in a few years and put yourself in those shoes?
I could start us off. So I think what I would have done differently, and I know that it's a little bit of a tough thing to ask, but it would be to kind of encourage you guys to really treat this as, an interview. You're being interviewed, but you're also interviewing these people. And so these are excellent opportunities to get a sense of, is this someone who, I can see being a mentor for me, who will be able to kind of model the kind of physician that I want to become, and just kind of shift a little bit of the framing of the whole interview process as finding a place that feels right for you. And I think that will help take a lot of the kind of anxiety that is associated with this process, which overall I think, is not a very comfortable process, but you just have to kind of work through it. And I think you'll all do great. So just kind of, I guess focus on interviewing the programs.
Gosh, I can't think of anything, honestly, that I would do differently. I'm really happy with where I am, with what I'm doing every day. I think that the things that I wish I had known when I was applying was, especially for the MS4s in the room, there's like a period at the end of your 4th year before you start residency that the funds get pretty low.
Can confirm.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't know, people might have known, but if you haven't already, think about like saving up for that time period where you meet and your first rent is due and like you've not been paid yet by your residency program. And so that's something that I wish I knew. I think that's it. I can't say the process itself. Our year, I was with the virtual group, and so we got to save a little bit of money. We didn't have to travel all over the country, so I think that many of us appreciated that. I ranked my programs in a very similar fashion as all these guys. I thought about where I'd be happiest, and I think I'm happy I did that.
Wonderful. And then our last question that we'll throw back to Cody and then Candace, is just how was the adjustment to living in Boston and then adjustment to being a resident from a work standpoint?
Yeah, so I would say adjusting to Boston, I've really enjoyed living here. Moving 15 plus hours away from home, that's definitely the hope, is that this new place will feel like a home. And I feel like it does for many different reasons. For one, when you're moving that far away, you really don't have a sense of community just yet. And my community easily became my fellow residents and my colleagues. And I'm so grateful for them. And so that really was a big part of adjusting to the Boston area. And then it's just honestly just such a great city. I've really enjoyed just living here in general. There's so much that Boston has to offer, from sports to, I love to run. So the Esplanade, going to the Commons, there's just so many great things that I've been able to, see and be a part of while I've been here. So adjusting, I would say it was a little bit tough at the beginning in terms of, it's a new place. Anytime you go to a new place, it could have its challenges. For one, I'm learning and adjusting how to drive in this city. I don't know who did the infrastructure, so we need to talk about that. But nevertheless, it's doable and you'll be fine. But I would say, finding that sense of community was really big for me. And it takes time to build relationships with people just in general. But I was so fortunate that my colleagues and residents are my friends, and they're just such amazing people. In terms of adjusting to the job as a resident, wow, that just takes time. You go from being in this role as a medical student, and now they're asking you, what medication do you want to start? I remember placing my first order for Tylenol. I was like, whoa, maybe I need to take a look at this dosage, even though I take it for myself all the time. But, it's just such a different role to have now that you are the doctor in the room. And they're looking to you for your advice and everything. So, adjusting, I feel like I've had some great mentors to help me with adjusting to the position and, just the experience itself, just being in the different varied rotations, the hospital, it's just been a great experience overall. And when I did have my struggles, because let's just be honest, we can be honest here, right? I definitely felt some imposter syndrome, but not in the way of where I was made me feel like I didn't belong. It was the roles and responsibilities of being a doctor, especially when you're passionate and you want to help people. There was just such a huge responsibility of being a doctor that kind of made me feel like, oh, am I prepared for this? Can I do this? Because it's so different from being a medical student. But over time, I've been able to have help building that confidence in my skills and just having experiences with wonderful patients and faculty to work with me that I definitely feel like I belong. I feel like this is just such a humbling, beautiful opportunity to be a doctor. And I'm just looking forward to the growth that I'll see in myself. So I'm just so grateful that I've been adjusting to the city and all it has to offer, even this driving, and then also to just this role of being a doctor and, really taking care of patients.
I definitely agree with Candace about adjusting to the city. I think any new place that you move to, there's this period of, where do I, depending on where you're coming from, where do I get my hair cut? Where's the correct place to buy groceries? Which places do you avoid? But it's nice because a lot of people are transplants in this system, and everybody has had to go through that adjustment period, and people here are so willing to help. So adjusting to the city for people who have had to move to new cities, from where I was at before, I will say the weather is an upgrade. So that is one nice experience, but the people around you are the people who that's how you get through it. I definitely want to touch on adjusting to the job, and more so from the aspect of coming to this system in general was very intimidating. It was the first time that I applied anywhere in the Northeast, especially to the Harvard system. It was never an interest of mine. It just did not seem like a place that I would fit in. But what has been really exciting and motivating is that people here actually really care about you. I can say that for a fact. There are days when they care about you more than you care about yourself. And all of you are here because you have risen to the occasion, and people do expect a lot of you here, but they don't expect you to do it alone. In our hospital, we have this saying, you should never worry alone. Like your worry is somebody else's worry as well. And I think going into that mindset, rising to the occasion of being a physician means that you oftentimes have to put your own issues aside. Even when it comes to being embarrassed about not knowing an answer, it's not really about you, it's about taking care of the patient. Whether that means asking another question, going that further step, staying up an extra 30 minutes to talk to your attending on the phone, or after the workday is over, just to get a better sense of how to better handle a situation with the patient or a family or other healthcare workers. I think being in a system where people want you to be the best physician that you can be and rising to the occasion is how I've learned to adjust to the job. And it's because I want to do a good job, but I also came here because people wanted to see us do very well. And I know many of us come from underserved communities, and I think that's something that has also always been a part of, when I walk through the hospital doors every day, I'm like, everything that I'm learning today is so that I can go back home or go back to the communities that I came from and to really support them and to do a lot for them and advance them past where they have been. So remembering that you're not alone, remembering that you came here for a reason, and holding people accountable for recruiting you to the system as well. I think that is in the same way that they're holding you accountable, you should hold them accountable as well, because they are responsible for your well-being and your training as well, and don't forget that.
Great. Just make two quick comments about just the second part of that question, because it's something that I think at least went through my mind, the adjusting to the role. Two very quick things I'll say for the fourth year is, like, you might feel a lot of anxiety about starting as a resident. You might be tempted to open some book, but just don't do it. It's not going to help. The way that you learn the job is by just doing the job. And there's a lot of support in place to make sure that you're not alone when you start as an intern. Spend that time with your family and friends, because that time becomes rare once you start working. And the second thing I'll say about adjusting to the role is, this is a panel of physicians, but once you enter the hospital, there's a whole host of other people there that have years and years of experience that you can lean on. Like, your nurses are ready to take care of you. Like, pushing the first IV dose of something, I had no idea what I was doing, but there are people there that are happy to help. So it's scary, but every single person you see, or generations of doctors have gone through the July 1st thing. So you're not alone.
Great advice to end on. Thank you, everyone, for joining, especially to our residents. Can you give a round of applause for your time? With that, I'll pass it back to Dr. Landry for the program director panel.
Thank you. Great job, guys. That was a very inspirational panel. Not inspirational enough for me to want to go back and do residency, but I think you definitely really just painted a picture of your experiences, and thank you for your honest and candid comments. We're going to transition now to our program directors panel, but if anybody needs to get up, stretch, move, you can do that as I invite down our program directors and introduce our moderator. Our moderator for the program director panel is Dr. Jocelyn Carter. Dr. Carter is in the Division of General Internal Medicine, and she's a physician scientist and internal medicine hospitalist at Massachusetts General Hospital. And I know I saw her walk into the room, so there she is. Dr. Carter will be moderating this next session, as we also invite our panel directors up to join us.
One more. I'll go one.
Okay, welcome, welcome. So excited to be with each and every one of you today. I'm Jocelyn Carter, one of the internal medicine docs at Mass General and Associate Director of the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, Manager of Training Affairs. So with no further ado, I just want to say thank you to our panelists in advance. It's incredibly important to hear your voices and really uplift kind of the way that you're approaching this upcoming season. And so many of you I know are, completing your applications and excited to move into what will be the interview season. So, and I'll offer that it's certainly something that hits home for me because as someone who's been on our internal medicine selection committee for over 10 years now, it is an absolute labor of love. That is something that we look forward to every single year. So with that, I would love for each one of you to be able to say, sort of your name and then also where you're representing from today. If you feel comfortable, that'd be great.
I'm Maria Yalamis. I'm the Program Director for Internal Medicine at Brigham and Women's Hospital. I've been in this role now a year and a half, but I was an Associate Program Director for many years before.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dennis Spencer. I am the Associate Program Director for the Boston Combined Residency Program between Boston Medical Center and Boston Children's Hospital. At Children's Hospital, I'm actually a pediatric gastroenterologist. And for the hospital, I'm the Director of Diversity Recruitment and Retention across all of our programs in the Office of GME. Pleasure to meet you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Omar Young. I'm a general OBGYN. I am the Residency Program Director for the Combined Residency Program at Massachusetts General Hospital and Brigham and Women's Hospital. I am also an alum of the Residency Program class of 2017 and also a proud alum of Howard University College of Medicine.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Caitlin Connolly. I am the Program Director at Mount Auburn Hospital for Radiology, and I'm very glad to be here with you today.
I'm Rebecca Rogers. I'm an internal medicine primary care doctor and the program director for the internal medicine residency program at Cambridge Health Alliance and the director of our med student primary care elective there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Sadawi Kanefka. I'm the program director of the anesthesiology residency at MGH. I finished there in 2013, originally from the Midwest, became program director in 2017, so rounding out my 8th year. Thanks for having me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Sams. I'm the adult psychiatry program director at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. I am in my 12th year in the role and graduated in 2020 from the combined BI Brigham Psychiatry Residency Training Program.
Incredible. Thank you so much for that. And I would love to just open it up by thinking about, the entire process that each of you go through at this time of year in terms of preparing yourselves for the interview season. And what is your general approach to your holistic review, if you think about it, for these incredible candidates that are going to be coming in? I'd love to get one or two of you to give your thoughts. Perhaps Dr. Sams.
Hi. So we have been doing a holistic review for a number of years. We look at every application in its totality, including the personal statement. What does it tell us about this person as an individual? What interests they have, both within and outside of medicine? Your letters, in particular, those from people who know you well and with whom you've worked closely. The MSPE, in psychiatry, we do want to see that people did reasonably decent on the USMLEs, but maybe not as much importance as the surgical subspecialties. And we place quite a bit of emphasis in psychiatry on the interview, of course, because interpersonal skills are important, as they are in all areas of medicine. So, as well as the interactions you have with our trainees when you're at the dinners and lunches, even if they're virtual. So we want to see a well-rounded applicant, and we look at every single aspect of the application to get a sense of who people are.
Thank you so much. No, and yeah, go right ahead. Oh, did you want to go ahead? Yeah, that'd be great.
No, that's okay. Happy to add. So in terms of preparation for the season, I think there's a lot of what's unique in this season, like what's new, what's different. Signals, I know we'll be talking about in a little while. I think there's a little more emphasis on that. There are a number of specialties that are diverging from ERAS using other application services. So there's some question about those things as well. In terms of how we prepare, I think, you know, it's really just a lot of just tend to your flock, take care of the residents, take care of the program. Recruitment is should be just here's what we have going on. So if you want to best prepare for recruitment, make sure that what you have going on is what you want to have going on. I think we probably all spend some time making sure that the websites are reflecting what's most current and taking into account whatever the season changes are. In terms of holistic review, I don't know how everyone else does it. We have no step score cutoffs. I think they're very good predictors of test scoring, but that's not really what we're looking for in selecting doctors. I think clinical experience does matter to us, but outside of that, we look for a whole lot of other experiences, whether it's leadership, community service, research, global health, quality improvement. There's a lot of ways, I think, to leave the field better than it was before you entered it, and that's really what we're interested in. I think for me, a tenet of holistic review is making sure that we're really tending to all of the possible ways to make the field better and focusing a lot on velocity rather than position. So I think we take a lot of pride in finding the diamond in the rough, so to speak. If I can add just one thing, with regard to signals, that's my biggest concern about signals. And I was glad to hear some of the residents talk about it as well. The feeling of like, oh, maybe I'm not even going to apply to these programs because I wouldn't apply here. That's my biggest worry, is that they think that we're a waste of a signal. Hopefully we talk about that a little bit more when we get into signals, because definitely not a waste. We look for lots and lots of different things to make us better.
No, absolutely. Definitely not a waste. And I think you're hitting on, multiple points here. One is, really trying to look at individuals as a whole, but also, trying to, in some ways, de-emphasize, some of the scoring systems that have been a part of the institution for a very long time. And of course, for individuals that feel strongly about signals, and it sounds like you do. It would be great to get more of an in-depth look at sort of how each of your residencies are handling that, because we definitely want for signals to be a way for people to bonus themselves, if you will, and really demonstrate that they're interested, but not sort of hold them back in any way. And so just to sort of make sure that we've covered that, anyone else want to talk a little bit more about that holistic approach or review?
I can speak for our residency program and our specialty. I think the key tenet of holistic review, in my perspective, is that each application cycle, it's an opportunity for the program and their leadership to reestablish your identity and what's important in your mission and values, because ultimately the key aspects of a holistic review are unique to your makeup of your department, the patient population you serve, and ultimately that will guide your holistic review, whether it be having a diverse group of residents, diverse group of faculty, the clinical experiences and the things that are most important to you in elevating the residency program and elevating the specialty. And also too, the other key aspect of that too is making sure we have an equitable process of reviewers of applications. So we have a diverse group of faculty and program leadership who are looking at the applicants in a different lens and perspective, because everyone's lived experience is different, practice experience is different, and other extracurricular and scholarly activities. So I think that's also a key important of the holistic review, is making sure that your reviewers are a diverse group representation of your program.
That's great.
I agree completely, and exactly what you were just saying. And we, in addition to everything that's been said, we do the same thing. We make sure all our screeners are trained to think about what is holistic review, get implicit bias training. Even if they've had it before, they do it again. And when we're training new people to screen, they go through a really intense process. So I think it's looking at your values, what you're hoping your residents can grow or how they can accomplish things during residency, but also making sure that when you're actually looking at applications, you're being fair and really defining what is holistic review for everyone who's doing the screening.
And it's incredibly important also thinking about the individual biases that your intern selection members who are, of course, entirely dedicated to the process, but may have, pre-existing when they're bringing that to the table, and how do we really try to deconstruct that? And that's certainly something we've utilized quite a bit at Mass General and the Internal Medicine Department as well. I want to move to a slightly different area. What about some of these new restrictions with regard to really only talking about a maximum of 10 experiences, and also trying to rank those experiences in terms of your top 3? Would be great to hear how some of you are using that a little bit differently. Is it helpful for you kind of getting that top 3? And how do you recommend that folks that are listening today really try to use that to their advantage? Yes, Dr.
Yeah,
Walters.
I'll go for it. I mean, I think from the reviewer side, I have found it helpful because when we look at a list of 20, 25 activities that someone has done during medical school, it's hard to really figure out what's the story, like what was this person really passionate about and what's driving them, and what am I going to ask them in the interview? There's like 25 things here. So I think that we get a pretty good sense of our applicants. I think we do from the being able to list 10 activities, and it's really a chance for you to think about those things as you prepare for your interviews. So I'll say that anything on your application is fair game to be asked about in interviews. Every once in a while, I ask someone something and they're like, that was a long time ago. I don't really remember that. Like, be prepared to talk about it. If it's on your application, it's fair game. So, so by only putting like 10 important things, like there should be things that you're really passionate about. Picking the top 3, I think we would all probably say like, we really want to understand who you are. That's part of holistic review, and that's part of us thinking about what are the goals of our program and what are the goals of these applicants, and like how do they match? So we really do want them to represent you. Like I advise our residents. We all do applying for fellowships, and she put a hobby as one of her top experiences because it was really important to her, singing in this choir, and like did a lot for her personal development. And like, I don't think all 3 of them should be hobbies outside of medicine, but one I think could be in internal medicine. I don't know for other fields, but like other ones should be like salient things you did to that were related to your career in medicine.
Thank you so much. Yes, please.
So definitely want to double down on a little bit of what Dr. Rogers just mentioned there. And again, I'm pediatrics. We love a good hobby, but don't use that. Don't use that time for that per se, unless you have a good reason, because a good conversation starter is also helpful. But I do want you all just to pause when you think about this question about, can I possibly whittle down my activities to 10? And then can I think about what are my top 3? Oh God, what am I going to do? You've done a lot of things. All of you are amazing. You're spectacular at the breadth of the things you've been involved in, the depth that you have in your leadership. And what we're looking for are themes that we can have as a good idea of who you are as an applicant. What is it that you're trying to share with us about what makes you special and why you would fit well in our program, so that we can think about how we can pour into you to better support those things that you're excited about. And if this is you trying to brand yourself, trying to market yourself in a certain way, you don't want to be too diffuse. If there are certain things that meet certain thematic themes that you want us to talk about in your interview, think about those. And if the top 3 things, even though you've done 3 amazing things in science and got you 3 really amazing publications, but you've done these other work in service and advocacy, you might want to make sure you distribute it. So maybe your top 3 is not your 3 science papers, but maybe one of them is your science paper. And then in your interview, you can talk about your other 2. But then you talk about your advocacy work or these other things that you're doing, because we want to make sure that we get a good picture of who you are and you don't need to be so diffuse. it's also important just to know that, this is a pet peeve of mine. So when you're filling out your ERAS and you have a box here that you can write your activity and talk about it, a novel is not helpful for me when I'm reading through hundreds of applications, okay? So, being succinct with this, bullet points are great. These are things that can also hopefully allow me to see what was the thing that you want me to know about this experience? How did you contribute? How did you grow from it? And then get to the next one. And then stop at 10, please. So all of this is hopefully you understand the why they've gone down to 10. It's helpful, but there's a tendency for many of y'all to overthink this and get too stressed out about it. Just make sure I have a good idea of who you are and that you've been successful.
It's incredible, Dr. Spencer, and I hope we're all picking up what you're throwing down here in terms of those great pearls. It's absolutely true, absolutely true. I saw Dr. Sawadi Kanefka also nodding a bit. I don't know if that was with regard to this comment or if you're ready to launch into signals.
I'll double down on what Dr. Spencer is saying. Someone once described it to me as, we're driving along this highway, seeing all the billboards. The billboards in this metaphor are the applications. And we try to drive slow, right? Like so that we can see as much as we can. But if you've got so much stuff all over the billboard and we can't understand it, we drive away without picking up what is the dominant flavor. So with my mentees, it's, okay, you got 25 things. All right, put 10 in the middle and look those over. Is that you? Is that representing the breadth and depth that you want to represent? And if it is, then great. Because it's true. As much as we would love to spend an hour per application in the screening, we don't have the time.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. Any other sort of thoughts on that? Oh, please go right ahead.
I'll just highlight, it's really a
Dr. Conlon.
chance to show what you're passionate about and kind of give us that flavor. I know everybody else has already said that, but really put your passions in there.
Yeah, that's very important. I think one of the things, yes, please, Doctor.
I hate the idea of coming back with the same question, but the thing I want to also mention, because it comes up frequently, is, but will it look bad if I talk about, from the lens of being an advocate, something that's a little bit controversial? Right now there are places where, just saying DEI is a bad word. And I don't want to necessarily be labeled or typecasted because this is something I'm interested in. If this is something that you want to be a part of your career, if this is something that really defines what you want to be doing as part of your scholarly activities, like during your residency, tell us. If you think that we're going to look bad about it because this thing is so core to you, may not jive well with us, you probably don't want to come to our program. I'll tell you that at Boston Children's and Boston Medical Center, we love that kind of stuff, and that's a plus. But don't be afraid to talk about those things. And this is also in other realms around gender equity, gender affirming care, around abortion. These are things that are very core to what makes you want to be an advocate in medicine. From my perspective, absolutely include that. Don't be afraid. And if you're afraid to apply to my program because you don't think we'll look at it well, you should really be concerned about applying to my program in general.
That's so true. And, how do we really make sure that everyone here today comes away with the thought that they're going to be able to uplift who they are in these interviews, in addition to, of course, presenting that they are absolutely clinically excellent in every way and in hot demand. So I think that's a great take home. I also do want to leave space for anyone that does want to speak about signals. It is probably one of the hottest topics that are coming up sort of again and again for so many of our applicants. And, while we know that each of you probably have a different approach, and maybe even a different familiarity, it would be great to hear from you as to how your programs are really trying to standardize, if you will, in terms of that process.
For obstetrics and gynecology, it's a voluntary process for our programs to participate in signaling. Brigham and Women's MGH, we've participated for the last 3 years. I think the spirit of it was, again, to help programs and applicants navigate the virtual interview process because we were being flooded with an exponential amount of applicants. Applicants were interviewing at an enormous number of programs as compared to when it was in person. So again, we were trying to assist applicants and programs and narrow down the focus of your highest interests. So obstetrics and gynecology, you have 18 signals total, 3 gold, that's your highest interest, and then 15 silver. And I think for my thought of it, and again, the goal is to make this recruitment application interview process equitable. And I think the beauty of signaling is allow applicants who don't think they might be the prototypical applicant for a Harvard affiliated program, allow you to get your voice heard. And for us to see an applicant that we might traditionally pass, not look at. So again, I think that's the beauty of it, why I think that there are some good aspects of signaling because it allows us to look at further look at applicants that we might necessarily in the past or historically kind of overlooked or screened out.
Yeah, and I know Dr. Ialamas and also Dr. Connolly were nodding their heads, so.
For us, it's our first year doing signaling. We've never participated before. So we also, like you, are a little bit nervous or uncertain about how it's going to really play out. We've been having, when the question was, what have you been doing to prepare for recruitment? We've been having a lot of discussions among our APDs and how we're going to use it. And this year for internal medicine, those of you that are applying probably know there's gold and silver signaling up to 15. And I think the hope was that it would decrease the number of applications per program. But I will say that it's not going to be used for ranking, for the screening. It probably will be used, but we have a backup system just going through to make sure that we don't miss a applicant that maybe did not signal us for a particular reason. They didn't, not sure about the Northeast or, a Harvard program, that we don't want to miss those outstanding applicants. So we have a backup system so we don't miss that. But I think if you find a program that you're passionate about or you're interested in and you would like an opportunity, it's important to signal them from that perspective. But we're going to be learning like you guys this year through the process.
Yes, Dr. Sawadi Kanapka.
Thank you. So just prior to when signals came out, the cycle just before, we received around 2,000 applications. That was up from 10 years earlier where it was maybe 1,100. And it wasn't because we were that much more of a popular program, everyone wanted to come. It was because the median number of programs that a single applicant was applying to was well over 60. And it was around all the things that I think probably are shared things like, oh, we're anxious, like, are we gonna really match somewhere? Don't know. And so you feel like you have to apply to all of these other programs. It's not really borne out in the match data. You don't really need to apply to that many programs. And it really hurt us from the ability to do holistic review because 2,000 applications is way too many to really go through each of them. So they introduced signals and our number of applications went down to 1,300. And I suspect it'll go down further. I think what the benefit is that we can spend more time for the applicants who are sincerely interested in our program. So I suspect, not that I wouldn't love to meet all of the applicants, but I suspect there were some people we interviewed who came to interview with us and it was a pleasant experience for them, but they had no intention of ever coming to our program, which I guess is fine, except that it boxes out someone else who would potentially be a phenomenal fit for our place that we just never had the chance to meet. This past year, so we're also a 15, 5 gold, 10 silver. I can tell you for the folks who also had a geographic alignment, this is across our specialty. ERAS has this data for all specialties if you go fishing around for it. If you gold signaled, you had median chance of 57% of interviewing at the program. If you silver signaled, it was a 31% chance. If you didn't signal at all, it was a 3% chance. So they do seem to make a difference. I think the thing that I really want to emphasize though is the worry that I have about this is that you hear a name like, oh, it's Harvard. They wouldn't want to look at my application. That's so not true. If you have interest in what we have going on, you can look for the types of things that we are interested in. Everyone's got their websites. You can read about the type of applicants that do well there. If you think you might have a match for that, but oh, my school isn't competitive or I don't have these sort of things, please show yourself a little bit of grace, talk to some of your mentors and see if it might actually be worth a shot. My biggest worry about the whole signals is who are we missing who just doesn't bother applying anymore?
Yeah, Dr. Conley and yes, Dr. Spencer.
Yeah, so in radiology, we've been using signals for a couple of years now. And I agree, I think it helps really in the screening process to give us, have us focus a little extra time on your application. If you signal us, we still do review all of the applications. But it, again, as you were saying, speaking to having folks interview who actually really want to come and be with us, because we want people who, want to be here and will be happy here. So, if you're thinking, I will never leave, X state where I've gone, all my family is here, you may not be happy with us if your family is not here. So again, and that's not the case for everybody. Many of our residents come from all over the country. So, we don't want to exclude people just because they aren't from here, but we want people who want to be here. So I think it gives us a chance to look more at your application and help us, in the inviting for interview process. We use both the program signals and the geographic signaling. And we basically weight folks who want to be in the Northeast or who say they don't have a geographic preference sort of equally. But if you specifically say you don't want to be in the Northeast, then we take that into account too. So again, we want to, we want you to be happy with us. So that's sort of where we take it into account. We don't really take it into account for our ranking process. That the interview really plays much more highly into that. But to sort of get your application that extra look, I think the signaling helps.
I just want to briefly mention how there is such great diversity or a huge range of how these are viewed between specialties and then between programs, even in a specialty. I do think in pediatrics, there are programs that do put a bit of value on the signals. We receive information on geographic and program signaling, but we really don't put too much stock into it. Is it a part of another data point? Sure, but it's something that we really minimize. And in part because we did not, I'm speaking about the BCRP, we did not have a change really in the number of applications because it turns out everybody was already applying. So, I mean, in the last 10 years, we've averaged 1,800 applications a year. And 57% of all MD applicants in America going for pediatrics apply to our program. 83% of IMGs apply to our program. So, I mean, we get a lot. It did not really change that much. What matters if you are from a smaller school or your grades were not all honors, if that somehow happened to you, are things like having done rotations with us and things like that. But the signaling is for something we believe that that's not something you should put too much into. And again, my whole role is always, you can overthink this to the point where you've stressed yourself out for things that don't make much of a difference. So this is one of those where I would say, don't stress it too much. Don't say you don't want to come to the Northeast though, don't do that. But yeah, don't put too much into it for us.
Yeah, it's such excellent advice, and really thinking about trying to use it to your advantage as a way to really indicate for those schools that you definitely are incredibly interested in, and at the same time get the juice for the squeeze, and not sort of overextends yourselves, because don't forget, this is an exhausting process for you too. So really being able to identify those places you want to go is always going to help you, especially when it comes to big buckets like states or regions or general sort of components like that. I do want to shift gears a little bit because I know that a lot of the folks here are in this bucket, but anytime we get that letter of recommendation that's coming in just a little bit later than we would have liked to, how do you handle it? What is your philosophy? Sometimes, of course, people are on sabbatical or there's different things that happen. And so the LORs may not all be in place on day one. Just wanted to open that up and hear, hopefully some compassionate use along those lines.
I suspect this is specialty specific, but we are reviewing all parts of the application up until ranking time. And so, of course, we want to see the majority of your letters in when you submit your application. But if a letter comes in late, we're reviewing it as we're interviewing you, and we're reviewing it again, potentially close to ranking when we're making final decisions. So definitely, if you've excelled in a rotation with somebody who knows you well and you want to have them submit a letter for you and it's a little bit later in the season, go right ahead.
For obstetrics and gynecology, I think it's a little different, and even for our program. So again, to make this process more equitable for our applicants, your submission window for obstetrics and gynecology in our new application system, Residency CAS, it's from September 4th through September 25th. That's the deadline, and actually programs can't review applications until October 1st. So in our eyes, you have a pretty significant period of time where you can submit a complete application. And again, too, as many of our program directors, we're reviewing hundreds or thousands of applications. So we want to, most program directors and interview selection committees want to see a complete package. And again, we'll occasionally get a follow-up email saying there was an added letter or a new aspect to the application. But my general recommendation for my own mentees and students that work with me is to submit a complete application.
Absolutely. And of course, all of us will be doing that. And you know, we're coming to the end of our time. So I did want to just slip in one question about the personal statement. This is also an area of extreme sometimes anxiety for all of us as we get into that time point. You know, any just general pearls, tips, or approaches that you're using for that. You know, everyone has their story. There's no such thing as a bad one, but what would you say is something that you tend to look for?
So I would recommend something that captures what you're passionate about and interested in, but really short and succinct. You know, we get 4,000 applications a year. So you can imagine that it's a lot to read through, but we're looking, you know, when it's shorter, we can really, I think it's more focused. And we can really get a sense of why you want to do what you want to do and so forth. So I know there's a lot of anxiety around the personal statements. A lot of the medical students will come to me from HMS and ask me to edit and so forth. I think as long as you write about what you're passionate about, what you want to do in medicine, there's no wrong answer there, right? It's just what's about you. So we have a sense of who you are as a person. I think that's the most important thing, but try to be succinct with that as well.
Great advice.
Listen to that again. That is great. And also do not repeat those ERAS things you already told us. It's the most common mistake that seems to happen every year, that you've told me something that I already spent because you wrote a novel about it in your ERAS. And now you're writing about it now. So don't waste that opportunity where you could really be personal and talk about something that's unique about you.
Again, the key word is personal. What's important to you? And again, too, I think it's an important aspect of your application too. If you are eventually invited for an interview, it allows us to see if that, especially in the age of AI, Chat GPT, is for us to see this applicant that I'm interviewing is not really matching the applicant I see in their personal statement. So have some honesty, integrity in your personal statement. And again, don't sell yourself short. Don't cater your personal statement to what you think is the great OBGYN resident, the pediatric resident. Be genuine in who you are so you can ultimately interview and match at a program that is right for you.
Definitely have one or two other people read your statement. It is a pet peeve of mine for folks to have statements that have a lot of grammatical errors. It looks as if you didn't care or were just sloppy. And there are ways to do that online and have a spell check or something of that nature. I'll echo that it be personal, that it tells your narrative of who you are, what you're interested in, how you got to be where you are. For some, if you've had some kind of blemish in your record, you can utilize it to either explain the problem or talk about what you learned from it, which is one thing we'll look for. There was one other thing I wanted to say about it that's escaping me. Definitely, I also echo, make sure you write it, not somebody else, because we have had that happen. Also, brevity as well, and that'd be coherent. One of the things that I have seen students do is open with a patient vignette, but then not link the vignette to themselves and why is this vignette important? So if you're using any kind of vignette, make sure you're also telling us why that vignette is important and how it shaped you or influenced you into heading into the specialty of your choice. And then finally, some of you may be applying to more than one specialty. Make sure you submit the correct statement to the correct specialty, because we have seen that as well.
Yeah, okay, hope everybody heard that one. Let's underline that. It's so important. Dr. Conley, yeah, I mean, or I'm sorry, Dr. Rogers.
Two things I've heard about personal statements that I think is good advice is someone once described reading personal statements that are just a page about why family medicine is so great, but nothing really about them. So like we know why our specialties are great. So I do think you should connect the personal things about you to the specialty, the right specialty and why you want to do it, but it shouldn't just be a list of what's great about OBGYN or internal medicine. It should be mostly you. And I agree you don't want to just repeat your CV, but there should be some like specific details, not just like, I love this. Okay, show me like a thing you did that made you love it, right? So actually like tangible details.
Yeah, those tangible details indeed. And now, well, you know, we're definitely over time and we're so incredibly blessed to have been able to have each and every one of you here, hoping we can get a round of applause and just let you know how helpful this was.
Awesome. I want to say thank you to the panelists and thank you to Dr. Carter for moderating the session. Great insights. I feel like I learned a lot about the application process as I advise students just hearing from you. So there were some nuggets that were dropped. Hopefully you all were taking notes and getting all that together. So we're going to transition to the end of our panel discussion. We have some time where we're going to be able to interact with some of the hospitals. Folks are going to be mixing and mingling. We're going to do that for about an hour. And then at 4:15, we're going to do our specialty breakout rooms. So on the back of your agenda for today, you can see the different rooms where our specialties are going to be meeting. This is your chance to meet the residents, maybe some of the program directors, other folks that are around, and just have those maybe one-on-one specific conversations related to the spaces and places that you all are applying to this upcoming application season. And I just want to point something out. The reason why we do this program on the second Saturday, or first Saturday, wherever we're at, this early in September, is because you all still have a chance to make those minor tweaks and changes to your program, to think about your signaling, to think about the application. And we wanted to make sure that you heard this before those deadlines that you were just hearing about. So now that you've got this information, you know, use this as a way to make sure that you are dotting the I's and crossing the T's on your application, so that when these wonderful program directors are getting your applications on October 1st or whenever they have a chance to see that application, they get to know you. And so that was the start of our afternoon. We're going to have the time in the atrium together and then the specialty breakouts. But for everyone joining online, for all of our hospital representatives, for our amazing program directors and our residents who shared their insights, I just want to give you another round of applause and say thank you.